Hi. A couple of quick questions before I begin. How many folks in this room are what they would call themselves traditional filmmakers, if I could see a show of hands? Okay. How many of you work in the documentary space and in the fiction space? All right. And how many of you have a handheld device that is video enabled? Okay. I'm going to try to keep this really as short as possible. I'm going to show a few things here. I mean, you can all go to babelgum.com and see what we do. In real brief, it's a company that's been around for a while. You may have heard of us in many different incarnations. The new version of Babelgum was launched in March of this year. When I say new, it went from a P2P-enabled enterprise to a Flash-enabled website. We also are very heavily focused in the mobile space. We operate in a very select and very, very thin narrowband rights sector, which is called IFOD, Internet Free On Demand. It's advertising supported. We are a true hybrid of a company because what we do is not only do we distribute online, we distribute on mobile devices, but we also produce our films. We've produced a couple of projects already, most recently a film called Dirty Oil, which is a documentary. It just premiered at the Hamptons Film Festival this past weekend. And when I say produce, that's Babelgum actually financing the film 100%. In that case, we own all of the rights, but we're focused as a company on the IFOD rights. We work in short form and long form format. I run the film division of Babelgum. We have a number of different divisions at Babelgum. We operate in the music sector, film sector, comedy sector. We have a channel called Our Earth, which is an environmentally focused division. And we have a Metropolis channel, which is urban culture. We also have another division of the company, which is soon going to be migrating onto the platform, which is called Underwater. It's part of underwaterchannel.tv, which, as the name suggests, it's all about everything that happens underwater. On the film side of things, I'm focused on, like I said, short-form content, and that can be as short as 1 minute, and also long-form fiction and documentary films. We show films in their entirety, and what I'm very focused on and what we've been doing lately, which you've probably seen a few things here in the UK and elsewhere, is I'm focused on day-and-date releases of films. Most of you probably know what that means, but basically we operate with other partners, distributors in the traditional sense, theatrical distributors, DVD companies, and whoever's operating in the distribution universe, where we work directly with the filmmakers, the IP holders, and the content creators to help them distribute the film in as many platforms as possible. And I look at our two main platforms, the internet and mobile, as complementary to the other platforms that are out there. I'm going to talk about two examples, both actually British films. One, Sally Potter's new film Rage, which we acquired for iPod distribution, and we did some exciting things here about 3 weeks ago in this very theater. And another film called End of the Line by a filmmaker named Rupert Murray that was a documentary. In both of those cases, and I'm going to actually show you, I believe in transparency and being a little bit open, so I'm going to, and hopefully I'll answer some questions later on, but I'm actually going to show you figures that come from as of last Sunday evening in terms of who watched the material that we put up online and on mobile. So you'll actually see some very hard facts of the distribution side. And I'll also be quite open in terms of how much we paid for these films, because one thing that we do, we actually are we are a distributor in the true sense of the word, and we're paying minimum guarantees and advances to filmmakers. I used to run a traditional film division, and I can tell you the amount of money that we're paying for this small sliver of rights is actually in some cases a lot more than I ever paid back when I was running a film division of a normal distribution company. The reason that we're doing a lot of this is we're a new company. It's still, I call it a big sandbox. We're experimenting in the same space that you are all working in. We're very fortunate to have a chairman and single investor who's very content-focused and content-driven, obviously also has a business in mind, and we're financed to an extent that allows us to actually experiment and see how things are going. We obviously have a team that sells advertising in the U.S. to support what we're doing, and that's sort of a quick snapshot of the company. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to see if in a good cross-media sense, I've been on Mac since 1985, so I never know how to operate these Windows machines, but I'm going to try. This is something that I discovered some time ago that in many ways I feel everybody really needs to see because it kind of sums up what's happening in the industry a lot of times. So hopefully you'll enjoy this as much as I do.
We thought we could make money on the internet, but while the internet is new and exciting for creative people, it hasn't matured as a distribution mechanism to the extent that one should trade real and immediate opportunities for income for the promise of future online revenue. It will be a few years before digital distribution of media on the internet can be monetized to an extent that necessitates content producers to forego their fair value in more traditional media. Yeah.
So that, I don't know what that is. That's not mine, but let's see. Let me go. All right, let's see if this works. In many ways, that little South Park episode sums it up. I mean, it's an experimental, exciting time. I'm really happy to be here. I forgot to thank, actually, the good, kind folks from Power to the Pixel for having me here. I'm really excited that Power to Pixel exists now in the third year. This stage also is something interesting for me because, like I said, we did Rage here a couple of weeks ago, and I was involved with another enterprise called Res, and we had ResFest here at the NFT, and we were always trying to move the digital universe a little bit further along, and it's really exciting that we're all sitting here looking to figure out the actual business behind all this. Very quickly, this is, I'm not going to read what it says on here, but basically this is a quick distribution timeline around Rage. I'm just going to scan through this quickly. Everybody can read. The point of this is that I acquired the rights to Rage from Sally Potter and the filmmaking team behind the film in early February, right around the Berlin Film Festival. As probably many of you know, the film was not kindly received in Berlin, which I think was a mistake, but it was the industry critics who are one of the gatekeepers that a couple of my colleagues here spoke about. For me, the film was actually a fascinating film, and a film that worked perfectly for Babelgum. For those of you who have not seen it yet, you should go out and see it. Either you can see it on Babelgum or on your mobile devices, or you can actually go out and buy a DVD. But basically the film is a fiction feature film, has a stellar cast in it. It's shot over the course of 7 days. It's 2-camera interviews of the characters. And what we did at Babelgum, I decided to, with the filmmakers, to release this film first on a mobile device. So this was the first fiction feature film ever to be distributed on a mobile device first. But not only on a mobile device, the idea was to have a day-and-date release, so that on September 21st, which was also an interesting day because Age of Stupid was doing some interesting things in the U.S. on that same day, so there were 2 UK films that were pushing the boundary and 2 films that actually had some UK Film Council interaction on them. So it was an interesting day. But anyway, on Monday, on September 21st, we released episode 1 on phones. And what that means is it was on the iPhone, iPod, G1, and G2, and it was also available here in the UK. I don't know, that's not my system. I guess Rescue and Recovery. Somebody, it doesn't like me. Whoa, careful. So basically, in the course of 7 days, we released 1 day a week for that first week. Also on Monday, there was an event in New York at a non-traditional venue called The Box, which is basically a cabaret burlesque club, that had a screening of Rage on Monday, the 21st. There was no traditional theatrical release of the picture, but on the Tuesday, September 22nd, the DVD was released in the U.S. What we did with Rage, we have a super page, babelgum.com/rage, that housed all the video for Rage, and also there was a channel on the mobile devices that had Rage, and we made sure to promote both the event that was happening here at this theater on the 24th, as well as the DVD of the release in the U.S. on the 22nd. So basically, this is what we did in the first week, where it was mobile-focused. And then the following Monday, we began the release of episode 1 online at babelgum.com, and to coincide with the DVD release and also a 2-week theatrical run of the picture here. As some of you may know, we also did an event on the 24th here, the event was, the film was screening here, but it was also via satellite to 36 cinemas. And that was organized by the filmmakers. That wasn't something that we did. But what we did is we actually collaborated with them to do what we could to actually presence this in the press and to the public as much as we could. The 36 cinemas outbound, and there were 8 cinemas that were inbound with Skype feeds, and we had Jude Law sitting in a room in New York, Eddie Izzard in Mallorca, and Lily Cole also in New York via Skype, interacting with the audience of not only in this theater, but 8 of the other theaters across the UK and Ireland. All of that was streamed live, without any advertising on Justin TV, which we incorporated on the Rage homepage, as well as on the Babelgum super page after the fact. So it was a big combination effort of getting the film out there. We were very fortunate in the press coverage of the film internationally. We, for a very small amount of money, worked with a great organization here in the UK and one in the US. And I positioned the press so that it was focused around this uniqueness of the first feature film ever on mobile. Of course, Sally Potter, who's a fantastic, iconic filmmaker. Perfect sort of things that came together. And the initial press that we got was a large piece in the New York Times, online and print, not in the film section, but in the style section. And one of the things is that I would recommend to filmmakers is if you're working on films, if your subject matter or what you're covering in your film is related to a particular business outside of what we would call the traditional film business, focus on that in terms of trying to get some positioning for your film. It works quite well, and it did for us on Rage. That started a cavalcade of, we have close to almost I think we're just shy of 92 press, really solid press reviews and coverage, both in print and online.
2 minutes, Carl.
What's that?
I have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. Very quickly, End of the Line, which was a documentary film, a documentary film that was roughly 90 minutes in length. What we did is we distributed actually 6 custom episodes that we commissioned from Rupert Murray that incorporated material from the film and material that wasn't in the film. Each one was 10 minutes long. We distributed those on a particular schedule. It was, again, day and dating with the release of the film. It was released on June 8th. Actually, it was premiered on June 8th on World Ocean Day. On that day is when we had episode 1 on. So very quickly, without, I don't want to, because the real heart of the matter is right here in terms of the charts. These are the actual figures that are as of last Sunday. Not every day that I guess a distributor will showcase these figures, but I think it's important to show exactly what's happening. These represent views these are unique views by individuals that have watched 80% or more of these episodes. And on End of the Line, each episode was 10 minutes. With Rage, there were some episodes that were 19 minutes long. What we're looking at here right now are the numbers for Rage. You see the online and mobile, U.S. and split up U.S. and other countries. Here is a different graph showcasing, again, the various parts of this. Online, other, meaning other countries, not the U.S. You can sort of see the kind of traffic that we have here. This is just in general. And then what's interesting really is the path here, what happens in terms of from day 1 to day 2. We obviously, there's no numbers here for 5, 6, and 7, because we're still in the release online. You see the initial bump at the very beginning, and then you see the following days as it goes on. What's interesting for me is looking at things like day 4, where you see the mobile and the online starting to even out. Obviously, the first day where you have a big press impact, you have a lot more people looking at it. These are snapshots just up to Sunday. For me and for Babelgum, this is not about what happened this week or next week. It's actually in the long tail of the content. We have the digital rights for these films over the course of 2 years. Our exclusive period usually lasts around anywhere between 1 month at a minimum to 6 months. And what I really want to do is look at this and see how this film has fared, how many people across the world have actually seen this film on their mobile or online sometime in a February, March time frame. Hopefully we'll be able to return to Berlin, where the film premiered this next year, with a real interesting case study on Rage. And very quickly, allow me to show the figures for End of the Line, which is a documentary. Now, these figures, when you see these, I mean, for me, these are not hundreds of thousands of figures. I mean, hundreds of thousands of viewers. But over the course of time, this is actually quite substantive. And when you have a documentary like this, and these are 10-minute customized segments that the filmmakers thought about in companionship to their feature film, and that's something I encourage the creators to think about. I think Ted spoke about this and other folks, is do not just think about that fiction feature or documentary feature-length version. Think about alternate formats. So it's quite a lot of people have watched this thing online. Again, this is going to go on for quite some time, but this is pretty fascinating when you see, for example, episode 2, which is about the European Union. 22,000 people have watched 80% or more of that online, and you see the rest of the figures. I don't have to detail this. But anyway, I'm excited by this. It's really an exciting time, and it's important for all the creators, all of you, to think about alternate forms of distribution, but also alternate forms of distribution of your content in terms of varying length, so forth and so on. I'm pretty excited because we're working with a lot of filmmakers and organizations that are pushing the envelope. And I'm pretty sure I'll be back here next year. We'll be talking about case studies of filmmakers that have even taken it another step further, and we're going to continue to collaborate with every platform possible. Thanks.